Are we are we live? Are we live on a Thursday for the first time ever? Are we live on a Thursday for the first time ever? What's up, Star Wars fans? It's Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars here. Today we're talking about a lot of things. First of all, Bad Batch Season 2 Episode 3 came out yesterday. Didn't have time yesterday to make a breakdown video, so this is going to be the breakdown video itself. We're just talking about a lot of different things today. But of course, I'm sure you clicked on this video because of the thumbnail and you saw that there was the Mandalorian and Grogu in the sequels, and we'll get into that. There's a lot to do with craziness and reports about the sequels having major ties in this Mandalorian Season 3. And I know a lot of fans either love the sequels or hate the sequels, and it's very a huge differing of opinion when it comes to the sequel trilogy, and I'm sure everybody has their own opinion, and we'll get into all of it. But first, we have to talk about the Bad Batch Season 2 Episode 3. So first of all, rank that episode out of 10 right now in the chat. I'll give you my ranking at the end of when we finish talking about it and breaking it down. It was by far the best episode so far of the season. Here comes my dog Boo. Everybody want to say hi to Boo? Boo Boo, come here. This is Boo. Boo, say hi to the fans. Oh, hello. Hi. Oh, thank you. Say hi to the fans. So Alex Emery first in says it's a 9 out of 10. Why you give it a 9? Why are we giving it a 9 out of 10? So again, like I said, Boo agrees with me, right, Boo? Yeah, okay. Bye, Boo. Okay. This is the best episode so far. Out of the first 3 episodes, it is the best. Star Wars Politics in saying 9 out of 10 as well. So first of all, Commander Cody. Of course, Commander Cody is back. He doesn't have his orange suit anymore. It is now gray because the Empire just destroys all good things. But Commander Cody's back, and Crosshair is back. We didn't get to see any of the other Bad Batch, but Crosshair wasn't in the first 2 episodes, so it's kind of only fair. Do you guys have dogs? Okay, whatever. We're getting off track. Okay. So yeah, if I were to rank this episode out of 10 myself, I'd probably give it around that 9 out of 10 as well. It was better than the first 2 episodes for sure. And none of the actual Bad Batch except for Crosshair were in it. But it was kind of a dive into the Empire, like as a kind of a first person's point of view, sure, as the Empire. So it started on this new planet that I don't think we've ever seen before called Desix, and we were introduced to the governor of Desix, and during the Clone Wars, they were on the Separatist side. They were kind of an independent planet, as it were. They kind of looked like a farming planet to me, but we were introduced to their governor called Tawani, something like that. I forget. I don't know how to pronounce it, honestly. But the Empire shows up, and it's this new guy who's like, I'm the governor now. His name was Groton. And she's like, no. And she had some battle droids, and they took them hostage. We cut to Coruscant. Yes, we're back on Coruscant, which was pretty cool. We didn't really get to see a lot of it, but we got to see Admiral Rampart's office. We also got to see Crosshair wake up, and we found out what happened to Crosshair at the end of Season 1. He was stuck on Kamino for, I think it was, how many days? How many days was he stuck on Kamino? 32 days. That's what I wrote down here. 32 days before the Empire came and actually found him, or 32 rotations, days on Kamino, which is wild. I mean, that's a very long time. But yeah, so he was on Kamino for 32 days until the Empire finally came and saved him, and they were like, oh, maybe he's not with us anymore, so we should probably not work with him. But he passed the medical examinations, and now he's cleared to be in the field. But he's not a commander just yet. So Admiral Rampart tells him to meet up with his commander. And that commander, of course, is Commander Cody. Now, this was really cool. Seeing Cody back, we knew he was coming back. He was in the trailer, all that. But it was still cool to just see him in general. I mean, it's the same armor he had in Revenge of the Sith. It's just gray now. And it seems as though the Empire has drained all of the fun out of everything. But Commander Cody clearly supporting the gray outfit now. And it was pretty cool to see him and his conversation with Crosshair. They talked about how A bunch of regulars, or a bunch of regs as they call them, regular clones, are also just not listening to the Empire's orders anymore, because although they were trained to follow orders, the orders that the Empire are giving are so crazy and ridiculous that only the people that they recruit and bring in that have a love for the Empire, that will follow the orders of the Empire, are the only ones that will follow these crazy orders, like just killing innocent civilians. But these regs, these clones, aren't doing that. And Crosshair's response to that is then they're traitors like the Jedi, which is kind of crazy, but they go on this mission to this planet, and Commander Cody learns a few things along the way. So they're going to save this Governor Groton, whatever you want to call him. They're going to save him, and they do so. They crash into the planet, and they go in and save him. They take out all the droids. They take out the lead droid, so that all the droids are just shut down. And then it ends up with Tawani, or whatever, however you pronounce Governor's name, holding Groton hostage. And Crosshair obviously ready to shoot, and Cody has to talk him down. And then she says, we just want peace. We don't want the Empire on our planet. We don't want any of this trouble, blah-blah-blah blah. And she lets Groton go, leading to Crosshair killing the girl. And Commander Cody, very upset. So how does this episode end? It ends with Crosshair going back to Rampart's office, saying, well, where's Commander Cody? And he says he's gone AWOL. So there's a big thing about Commander Cody. In Star Wars, we don't know what happens to him. Commander Cody's a big question mark after Revenge of the Sith. We don't know what happened to him. We don't know where he went. We don't know what goes on with Commander Cody. He's not in anything else. He's not in the original trilogy, obviously, but he's not even in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. He's not in Andor. He's not in Star Wars Rebels. He's not with Rex and those other clones in Star Wars Rebels. He's not anywhere. So there's a big question mark around what happens to Commander Cody after this. He's gone AWOL according to this end of this episode. So I don't think, do you guys think this is the last time we're going to see Commander Cody in the Bad Batch? I just don't see it that way. I think he's definitely got to show up again. There's still, 13 more episodes. I think he's still a guy who's going to be out there, and we probably will see him again. So a very solid episode. I was just, again, so busy yesterday, couldn't even find the time. I watched the episode twice, but I could not find the time to make it, record, edit, do all that stuff for a breakdown video. So that's my breakdown, and we did it real quick right here live. So yeah, that's how I think about the third episode. It was good. I still don't think it was great, but for a Bad Batch episode, I give it a 9 out of 10. Obviously, Commander Cody back, Crosshair back, all fun stuff, but it still just seems, not connected. What's the word I'm looking for? It just doesn't seem like it matters. It doesn't seem like it matters to the greater picture of Star Wars. Even like Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars, of course, all seemed to matter. You had Anakin's fall to the dark side, Ahsoka Tano being developed as a character, even Obi-Wan being developed as a character in the Clone Wars. And then in Star Wars Rebels, you were introduced to a brand new cast of characters, Ezra Bridger now being a lot of people's favorite character, Darth Maul still being in there, Ahsoka being in there, Kanan being in there, and all this brand new cast of characters. Now you have the Bad Batch, and it seems like, even after the whole first season, that a lot of people and a lot of Star Wars fans, and it tends to be the case all across social media, they just don't seem to care about the Bad Batch because it has no effect on the greater picture of Star Wars. And that seems to be the problem that they have right now. Because if you look online, on Instagram, on Twitter, wherever you are on about Star Wars, on YouTube, they just don't seem to have the big pizzazz for the Bad Batch. People aren't really talking about it. People aren't really speculating about it. What's going to happen next week? What's going on in the Bad Batch in general? It seems to just be a show that's not talked about, and even Disney themselves aren't really promoting it all that much. When you go on to Disney Plus, it's not the first thing you see. There's no commercials for it. They're not really running any trailers for it. They're not doing much to get people excited for the Bad Batch. And it's sad because I think this is, it's Dave Filoni at his best. It's him doing animation. It's him doing his best work. And nobody seems to be watching it because they're not advertising it. People aren't really talking about it. There needs to be that word of mouth type thing. Star Wars Politics says it's a problem for sure, and I agree. So I did a poll 3-4 days ago now about what Star Wars project are people most excited for, and I did it on the channel. Let me pull it up real quick. I did it on the channel, and the results were kind of surprising to me, actually. Hang on one second. They were very actually surprising to me. So let's see. Here we go. Let me pull this up for you. So I said, what are you most excited for in 2023? Bad Batch Season 2, The Mandalorian Season 3, Jedi Survivor, and The Ahsoka Show. So yeah, this is the results. We had 62 votes in 3 days, and The Bad Batch sat at the second to lowest, which was actually surprising. Jedi Survivor was very low, and that was very surprising, to be honestly. But The Ahsoka Show at the highest, right behind it, The Mandalorian Season 3 at 35%, then a huge drop-off to The Bad Batch Season 2. Let me zoom in on this for you. Doom, 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 doom. There we go. So yeah, so you got The Bad Batch at 13%. Nobody seems to be all that excited for it. And right away, actually, and you'll see in the comment section, because I do believe Star Wars Politics, you actually were saying in the comments that you did this on your channel, and The Bad Batch won. And right away, actually, when I posted this, The Bad Batch went off to a huge start. It was like 80% Bad Batch to everything else. And I was surprised. But then it kind of just, everybody started to vote, and it kind of evened out, and this is where it actually landed, in The Ahsoka Show being the most excited, The Mandalorian Season 3, and then The Bad Batch. And that seems to be where I think the Star Wars community as a whole is at. But why is that the case? The Bad Batch is the show that is coming out right now. It should be on people's minds the most. And I know it's animated. I know it's not people's favorite thing to watch, the animated Star Wars stuff, but it should be. It should be. The animated stuff is great. All 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, fantastic. All 4 seasons of Rebels, amazing. And it just still seems that the animated stuff can't gain those casual fans, those normies, as it were. It just seems like they can't grasp their attention span. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It seems to be a problem for sure, like Star Wars Politics said. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I'm going to start a poll right now talking about The Mandalorian and tying into the sequels. We're going to start a Q&A section of the stream, so you guys can ask questions or answer this question about what we think is going on. Star Wars Politics saying, I'm telling you, the hype for Mando 3 will be low. I agree with you. I think the hype for The Mandalorian Season 3, and again, it's still a few months away, but it's lower than most shows that, like, The Mandalorian should be the most hyped thing on planet Earth. For Star Wars, it's the next big thing. It's their biggest show. First season, second season, biggest show by far. Grogu, Din Djarin, Luke Skywalker back. It should have more hyped for it, and it just seems like it's not there. And maybe it's just because they took 2 years off. Maybe it's the firing of Gina Carano. Maybe it's that they're not really advertising it as much as they should be. It does seem like the hype for The Mandalorian Season 3 is very low. And Star Wars Politics says part of it is we don't have a new trailer. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Where is this new trailer? We were supposed to get it on Christmas. We were supposed to get it a few weeks ago now. There's all these rumors about getting this trailer, but it's still not here. All right, let me open this Q&A portion. Do you want The Mandalorian Season 3 to tie into the sequels? Why or why not? Oh, whoops. Why or why not? All right, I'm opening that stage right there. You guys tell me what you think. Why or why not? Should The Mandalorian Season 3 tie into the sequels? Now, this is bigger than it seems. This is not just a straightforward yes or no question. We really need to talk about it, because we know that in the Star Wars canon, this is where it leads to. It leads to the sequels. But a lot of fans don't like the sequels. I know a lot of fans do like the sequels, and I get that. My stance on the sequels is this. It happened. It's Star Wars canon. Do I like it more than the prequels? No. Do I like it more than the original trilogy? No. It's by far my least favorite trilogy. But there are pieces to it that are good. The Force Awakens as a whole, and people will say, oh, it's a carbon copy or a copy your homework but change it a little bit of A New Hope. And sure, it kind of is, but that's what makes it good. It's a story that introduces new characters that you are eager to learn more about. Snoke, Rey, Finn, Poe, Kylo Ren. You're eager to learn more about these characters. It's the second half of the trilogy that kind of falls off for me, and that's where I'm kind of just sitting with Star Wars right now. That's where I'm at with the sequel trilogy. It just seems to be along those same lines. Yeah, okay. We'll keep that open for a while. You guys, I'll just answer them for you as we go along. Star Wars Politics says, I want new stuff to help make the sequels make sense. They are canon, people. The best we can hope for is that they get better with time and more explanation. So I agree with you, Star Wars Politics. I absolutely agree with you. I think that doing things around the sequels can make them better. So there's this one big plot hole, or whatever you want to call it, in The Rise of Skywalker that people absolutely hate so bad. And I'll get into it in a second, because Florida Sucks is in the chat right now, and he says, I think they need to take their time to explain the sequels. So Florida Sucks. Do you live in Florida, first of all? And second of all, do you think that The Mandalorian is going to do that? Do you think this Mandalorian timeline will do that? And do you think it's going to take their time and actually explain the sequels, the characters of the sequels, what's going on in the sequels? Do you think that's what's going to happen? Do you think that's what's going to happen? And do you live in Florida? Because I got to know. But yeah, so the sequels had this huge plot hole in the Rise of Skywalker, and it was the dagger that just randomly appeared. They randomly happened upon it, and they go to that moon near Endor, and the debris of the second Death Star that exploded is there, and the dagger just happens to have the right thing that points exactly to where they're supposed to go, and it was really, really stupid. But there was a book that came out, I think last July or June, that I read that was called Shadow of the Sith. I got it right here. Shadow of the Sith. Anybody read this? Did anybody read this book? It was about Luke Skywalker, Lando, and this Sith person. But that wasn't really the main person. It was Ochi of Bastoon, who was in The Rise of Skywalker. And it was explaining how he got that dagger, how Palpatine showed up and gave him that dagger, told him it would lead him back to Exegol, and all these other things. So it explained the sequels. It helped explain the sequels. The only problem was it was in a book that came out that not many Star Wars fans have read or are going to read. And they're explaining the sequels and trying to help explain the sequels in a book that no one will read. And I read it, and it actually made me like the sequels a little bit more. Florida Sucks in again saying it sounds like that's what they're going to do. And yes, I do live in Florida. Okay? So it sucks. We now know that Florida sucks from a person in Florida. And yes, I think that's what they're doing. They're trying to help explain the craziness that is the sequel trilogy. And again, this book was, I think, the start to it. Star Wars Politics says, isn't Anakin's ghost in that book, Mike? Yes, he is. Anakin's Force ghost is in this book, comes to Luke Skywalker in this book, and it is really cool. And he actually comes to Luke Skywalker. I'll try not to spoil it too much, but he comes to Luke Skywalker when Luke is meditating on the Seeing Stone on Tython, and he's meditating, and he meditates in his head. He's on Exegol. He sees a vision on Exegol, and a bunch of these ghost Sith cultist people are around him, and it looks like he's about to die, and he's about to get struck down, and Anakin actually saves him. Anakin's Force ghost saves him. And I forget, is it the first time he actually experiences his dad's Force ghost? I forget. Florida Sucks says, I have the audiobook, I just haven't listened to it. So I would actually definitely recommend reading this book. Even the audiobook, I read it and listened to the audiobook. It is good. I definitely give it the stamp of approval. But I tried to make some content about it when it came out, and it just did terrible. Nobody cared. Nobody cares about the books, really. That's the thing. If they want to explain the sequel trilogy, they want to explain Ochi of Bastoon and this dagger that he had that made no sense, and how Palpatine came to him, gave him the dagger, says you have to kill this little girl, talking about Rey, chasing down Rey's parents, and explaining the whole plot of the sequel trilogy. Do it in a show, do it in a movie, do it in something else, just not in book form, because again, only a few crazy Star Wars fans like myself and like you guys are actually going to even read it. Star Wars Politics in again saying, those are the types of scenes we want to see in the shows and movies. That's what I'm saying. Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost coming to Luke Skywalker, it would just be insane. And you said it before, it could, I could hit send, haha. What? You lost me there. You lost me there. But yeah, it just shouldn't be the things that happen in the books. It should be the things that happen in the movies, in the shows, and it should be hyped, and it should be talked about, and it should explain the sequel trilogy. So, without further ado, you guys have been waiting patiently for 20 minutes. Let's talk about this thumbnail that we had opened. So, oops. Okay, here we go. So, the reason you guys clicked on this video was because of the thumbnail, I'm sure, and the title that says The Mandalorian will have huge ties to the sequel trilogy. Now, here's what I'm talking about. Now, this comes from Making Star Wars, I think. Yeah, so this was actually a report that came out many, many months ago that I actually covered. But now we're getting a lot more news about it. So this is how it's even possible that The Mandalorian could possibly tie to the sequel trilogy. Now, in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, we did see like a Snoke clone in a cloning facility on Navarro, and it got blown up, and we had all that stuff happen, and there was some sequel ties there, but this is a lot bigger than that. This is a direct tie to the sequels, a direct tie, like straightforward direct tie. So without further ado, first look at The Mandalorian Season 3's scary new villain guard. So this has to do with Snoke and his guards in The Last Jedi. So ahead of The Mandalorian Season 3's March debut, which is March 1st, a new report revealed that the familiar villains from The Last Jedi will appear. After a more than 2-year gap between the seasons of Din Djarin and Grogu, aka Baby Yoda, nope, it's Baby Grogu, finally return in just a few weeks. The upcoming third season will seemingly act as a culmination of the series thus far, tackling what it means to be a real Mandalorian. All right, let's skip down to the good stuff. From Star Wars sequel trilogy to streaming series. So trying to explain what is going on here. After first being reported back in March of 2022, that's when we covered it, fans got a first look at a Praetorian Guard that will appear in The Mandalorian Season 3. Making Star Wars Exclusive revealed a first look at the Crimson Red Villains Guards, whom fans may remember from The Last Jedi. So this is the first look that we got at it. Some guy tweeted out that doesn't speak English. I don't know what language that is, honestly. But this is what we're looking at here. Let's zoom in really close. This is what we're looking at here. This is from MakingStarWars.net. Look at this. This is clearly the same guard that we saw in The Last Jedi. This is clearly the same sort of look from Snoke's Praetorian Guards, but it's got the Mandalorian helmet type looking thing. So obviously this is going to be on Mandalore. What do we know about Mandalore right now? It got destroyed by the Empire. It was turned to glass, as it were. And the Empire seems to have a presence there. We don't know what kind of presence. We don't know what's going on there, but maybe, just maybe, Palpatine goes there to clone, or maybe goes there to do some things, and maybe, just maybe, Snoke is there as well, and maybe his guards are there too, and maybe they're ex-Mandalorians, or maybe they just took some Mandalorian armor and turned it into this stuff. Supreme Ren 10, what's up, General Supreme Ren 10? No, so yeah, we got this back in. We got these reports that these guys would be in The Mandalorian Season 3 back last March, but this is the first look we're getting at them. And clearly, they're the same Praetorian Guards from The Last Jedi with a more Mandalorian look, which is cool. It is very, very cool. Let's zoom out so I can read. We'll keep going. So this take on the guards looks similar to those that popped up in The Last Jedi, with minor differences in the helmet and armor, of course, to look more like Mandalorian. This is what we saw in The Last Jedi. Obviously, look at that, remember it, and then look at this. It's the same thing. It's literally the same weapon he's holding. It's the same everything. It's the same person. So these armored figures serve as protectors for Supreme Leader Snoke in Episode 8, and now will serve series villain Moff Gideon. So that is saying that it's most likely going to be Moff Gideon's guard, which that's not confirmed, and I don't really believe that, because Moff Gideon's in jail right now for the New Republic. He's in jail. He's going to obviously have a prison break at some point, but I think Thrawn is going to show up, and maybe even some heavy ties to Supreme Leader Snoke. Supreme Leader Snoke has to show up at some point. He is a very important character. He has to show up and do something, but yeah. So it's been reported that Moff Gideon will sport a new black and red Mandalorian armor. A lot of people think black and red. They think Darth Maul's Mandalorian armor, which would be insane, in the upcoming third season, which will pair with the Praetorian Guards. So maybe he is connected and harken back to Darth Vader and the Emperor's Royal Guard in the original trilogy. So the Praetorian Guards' origin story for the Mandalorian. As the Mandalorian takes on the Praetorian Guards, will sit right between their appearance in The Last Jedi and the original trilogy. So yes, there was the Red Guards in the original trilogy, and now there was them in The Last Jedi, and this is right in between, where it is assumed their visual inspiration comes from. This will possibly mean the audience are about to see the origins of these Imperial Guards. It is not fully deep dive into their history. This could be an opportunity for Jon Favreau to at least tie the Praetorian Guards with the Emperor's Royal Guard. The Emperor's Royal Guard and the Praetorian Guards in The Last Jedi aren't the same, but they could have some ties together. The Mandalorian has done a fantastic job at playing in the space between Episode 6 and Episode 7, and this has a possibility to create even more ties from one saga to another, or one trilogy to another. Just like they have done with the characters of Bo-Katan and Luke Skywalker. And surely seeing these bright red warriors standing alongside Moff Gideon will up his level and threat to the viewers, bringing his vision to the series as the ultimate villain. Okay, so obviously they want to make Moff Gideon a bigger bad, good villain, whatever. Giving him Praetorian Guards would make him a lot scarier, will make him a lot more of a threat. You know the deal. But it also has a big tie to Snoke. And I feel like if they don't tie in Snoke sooner rather than later, we know Snoke is just a clone for Palpatine. He's a puppet. He's every voice you've ever heard. Blah, 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 blah. But Snoke has to be a prevalent bad guy. He has to have a pull on Ben Solo as a very young child to help his fall to the dark side. Just like the Clone Wars helped provide some fans with more explanation to Anakin's fall to the dark side with the character of Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order, not trusting the Jedi Order, all that stuff. I think the Mandalorian timeline could help see Kylo Ren's fall to the dark side and Luke's fall to being a hermit on Ahch-To. But it starts with Snoke, and it starts with Palpatine, and it starts with Thrawn and all this stuff. But it starts with Snoke, because Snoke is the reason that Ben Solo gets pulled to the dark side. And the Praetorian Guards are a direct connection to Snoke. Okay, we got some chats to get to. Skits 3D says, I'm late, but I'm going to give The Bad Batch Episode 3 a 9 out of 10. Yes. Florida Sucks again saying, I personally think it's too soon to show Snoke. It sounds rushed to me. I agree not showing Snoke, but again, alluding to Snoke. That's what we want to do. We want to allude to Snoke. We want to feel his presence without seeing his presence, if that makes sense. We want to feel his presence without seeing his presence. We want Snoke to be a big threat without knowing that he is the big threat. We want a looming big threat in the background. Moff Gideon's a good villain, sure, and maybe seeing him fight in like a Darth Maul type armor would be so cool, but we need a bigger bad. We need a bigger bad in the background. Right now it's kind of Thrawn, because we got the mention of him in The Mandalorian Season 2, and we know Thrawn's coming in a big, big way. in Ahsoka. But for now, we get the Mandalorian Season 3 and these Praetorian Guards. And hopefully a very strong connection to Snoke. Like we said, we saw this cloning facility on Navarro last season in Season 2, and it seems like it was so long ago now that we saw that. But that was literally in Season 2, and it was not that long ago. But we got that connection to Snoke because we saw a cloning facility. We heard Snoke's anthem happen there, and then we blew it up, and he's gone. But he's still there. He's still being created by Palpatine, by his Sith cultists, by his followers of the Empire, if that makes sense. Star Wars Politics in saying, I think it would be the best to see Ben Solo turn in animation. Ooh, like we talked about last week. Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit last week, how an animated show about Luke's Jedi, or Luke's Academy, or Jedi Order would be very cool. An animated show. You could do it just like the Clone Wars. You don't need to de-age all these people. You don't need to have all this technology. It doesn't cost money. But like we just talked about at the beginning of this stream, Politics, we talked about how the Bad Batch doesn't get the viewers it should have. We talked about how the Clone Wars even didn't get the viewers it should have because it's just animated stuff, and right away to casual Star Wars fans, it turns them away immediately. And I get what you mean. It would be very cool to see a Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple and see how that would work, but it would just... You know what I'm saying? Animation just doesn't draw in the casual fans, and I feel like putting such an important story arc of Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren, big characters in the sequel trilogy, into an animated show, and I know they did it with the Clone Wars, I know they did that, but I feel like it would just be better to see in live action. That's just me. What do you guys think? Supreme Ren says, I agree that we need a show with Snoke tying into things. Yes, bringing Thrawn in would be cool too. Yeah, so if you had Thrawn, if you had Snoke, if you had Palpatine, all of these gigantic looming presence? Is it Christmas again? By the way, I know I said this on Tuesday, but look at this thing. Okay. So if you had 3 huge looming presences as Snoke, Palpatine, and Thrawn, that would just be so cool. Like alluding to Palpatine still being alive, alluding to Thrawn getting all this power in this new Beyond in the Ahsoka show, and then having Snoke in the background, and still having Moff Gideon as a bad guy. He's probably going to die in The Mandalorian Season 3. I don't see him surviving past this season. Moff Gideon? Anybody see him surviving this? But finally, somebody points it out. We'll get to that in a second. So Supreme Ren 10 says, if Snoke comes in, would he look the same or different than we saw him in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi? So obviously Snoke is extremely damaged, and that's kind of just towards his look. He's a clone. He's gone through some things. He's seen some things. But Snoke is very damaged. And a lot of people, when The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens came out, they thought, oh, maybe this was because he fought Luke Skywalker. He obviously knew who Luke Skywalker was in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, referring to him as Skywalker. And people thought maybe they had a conflict before, maybe they fought before, and maybe that's the case. Maybe we do see Snoke get into some action. Maybe those are battle wounds. Maybe all those scars that he has are from some fight between him and Luke Skywalker. Or maybe it's just because he's a clone, and maybe that's just what happens. Maybe we see a younger version of Snoke. Maybe he looks different. We don't know. But Supreme Ren, I would love to see a younger version of Snoke look different and have him age up. It would be really cool. It would. It's like seeing Palpatine in the prequels. He doesn't look like Palpatine in the original trilogy. He looks like a normal dude. Now, I don't think Snoke would look like a normal dude because he's a different species, but it would be cool to see a younger version of him, and it would just be very, very, very cool. Star Wars Politics Insane. By the way, who was the girl or the gal in that thumbnail mic? That's a great question. So if you guys saw, I did a unboxing of this thing, which again is so cool. Go watch it. But yes, there was a random girl in that thumbnail. She remains a mystery for now. Supreme Ren says, I think him fighting Luke would be better. Yeah, so Snoke fighting Luke would be so cool. if that's why he was all battle damaged in the sequels, would be very cool. But again, they still have to explain the fact and the reasoning for Luke disappearing and becoming a hermit on Ahch-To. They never explained it in the sequels. They kind of did, but not really. They need to explain it better. And even in this book, which takes place, I think, like 10 years before the sequels, something like that. I don't really remember. 15 years maybe. Luke's still training his Jedi Order. He's still going strong. He's still looking for ancient artifacts. He's working with Lando in this book. And he has no signs of becoming a hermit on Ahch-To. And I know they explained it, how Kylo Ren's fall to the dark side is what caused it, but there has to be more to that, and there has to be more explanation to that. And I think, again, this Mandalorian timeline could help with that. But what do we think about this? I'm going to close this Q&A thing. Actually, let me see. How do I? Questions, answers. Nobody actually answered the question in the Q&A. All right, I'm ending it. All right, end the Q&A. I got to put up a poll here. Here we go. I'm going to put up a poll, and we're going to talk about who we think is going to be the main villain going forward. And there's going to be 4 options. Who is main villain in Mando verse? I'm going to put Mando verse. I spelled villain wrong. What? No, I didn't. Villain might be spelled wrong. I can't really see. Okay. Is going to be Moff Gideon. I think I'm spelling Moff Gideon wrong, but, whatever. Is going to be Moff Gideon. Is going to be Thrawn. Because we know Thrawn's going to be in Ahsoka, but we have no confirmed appearance of him in anything else. Is going to be Snoke. Or are they going to keep Palpatine around as a looming presence and people actually find out that he's still alive? Or, or are they going to keep Palpatine around and keep him as a threat? Are they going to do that as well? That's the question. Who's going to be the bad guy moving forward? Because at first it seemed like we knew for a fact. It seemed like Thrawn was going to be the big bad. All these reports about the Ahsoka show. He was coming in. He was coming in from the New Beyond. He was going to have this huge army. He was going to have all these things. And it was going to be him for sure. But now it seems a little different. It seems as though Snoke could have connections. We know Palpatine's still alive, but it's unlikely to be him. I don't think Papa Palps will win this one. But Moff Gideon, I feel like could die for sure. Star Wars Politics says for Mando, Snoke, but for Ahsoka, Thrawn. Now that's interesting. I think it's all going to be connected moving forward. I think the Mandalorian, the Ahsoka show, the Skeleton Crew show, all of them have opportunities for all the characters to appear in it, if that makes sense. Ahsoka could appear in Skeleton Crew, Mando could appear in Ahsoka, Ahsoka could appear in the Mandalorian. I think it's all going to be connected. And with that being said, I think there's going to have to be one overarching bad guy. Right now, it seems as though it could be Thrawn. But we know that Thrawn doesn't last to the sequel trilogy. At least we don't think. He could be in the New Beyond during the sequel trilogy. But for now, we know that Thrawn isn't in the sequels. So he's going to have to die at some point, and then there's going to have to be another bad guy. So as I see it right now, I think Moff Gideon will be the bad guy for this Mandalorian Season 3. And he will likely die. Then it's going to be Thrawn for probably a few years. And it's going to be Thrawn. And it's going to have this huge lead up with his army versus Mandalorians versus Luke versus Din versus all these people. And it's going to end in this huge battle, probably in a movie. Hopefully in a movie. And this could go on for years with Thrawn being the big bad. And then when Thrawn dies, immediately Snoke comes in as this new big bad. And it's Luke Skywalker's Jedi Order with a young Ben Solo. And Snoke comes in and takes control as this new big villain. So it'll be interesting to see what's actually going on. Right now, Thrawn's in the lead big time at 76%, and Snoke is behind him. Moff Gideon and Palps have 0 votes. I agree, Palps is definitely not going to be the villain. He's definitely probably going to be alluded to. He'll be considered Snoke more than Palpatine, I think. But I think it'll definitely be alluded to that he is around, I feel like. Supreme Ren says, or him being a clone too. because it makes sense. It makes sense that Palpatine would create Snoke to change Ben Solo to the dark side, which makes Palpatine obsessed with corrupting another Solo or Skywalker. So yeah, Palpatine's pretty good at corrupting them Skywalkers. It seems like them Skywalkers are pretty good at being corrupted to the dark side. But like Supreme Ren is saying there, he makes Snoke to help a Skywalker fall to the dark side. And then he also is cloning himself at the same time to maybe create a granddaughter in Rey. But it seems as though Palpatine is still out there planning mischievously, and he's still in control of what's going on in the galaxy. And maybe that's what they'll try to tie in, because in The Rise of Skywalker, when Palpatine shows up, it's like, oh, Palpatine's back, and now he's dead again. But in the prequel trilogy and in the original trilogy, Palpatine's this genius. He's an evil genius who has Order 66 planned out from the beginning. He has all these things planned out from the beginning. A Death Star, a second Death Star, having Luke fall to the dark side. All this stuff Palpatine has thought about. He's seen in the future. He knows all that goes on. And in the sequel trilogy, it just kind of seems like he shows up and dies all at the same time. So maybe they allude to Palpatine being in control at all times during this time period. Star Wars Politics says, I just don't think it's going to connect. Thrawn is too big of an enemy to not be mentioned in the sequels. I agree. I agree that Thrawn is too big of an enemy to be mentioned. But think about the characters we have now. Grogu, Din, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka Tano. All four of those big four right there, take out Luke Skywalker for now, aren't in the sequel trilogy. Bo-Katan's not, Ahsoka's not, Grogu's not, Din Djarin's not. So you can put in Thrawn in that list. Thrawn is not in the sequel trilogy either. Neither is this New Beyond. There's a lot of things that go on in the sequel trilogy that aren't being mentioned in The Mandalorian right now. And there's also things that happened in The Mandalorian right now that aren't being mentioned in the sequel trilogy. Obviously not huge events have happened in The Mandalorian right now. Nothing too big that would be mentioned. But yes, Thrawn having a huge undead army coming into the galaxy would be mentioned for sure. But if they met him in the New Beyond, it might not be mentioned. If that makes sense. It's hard to grasp it. Like, my mind is just boggling how Dave and John are going to deal with all this stuff and it not being connected to the sequels. You guys like my cup? I stopped saying that recently, but I used to say that every day, every live stream. But yeah, so it seems as though Thrawn coming into the galaxy with a huge army and a dark side Jedi even would be a big problem, and it would be mentioned in the sequels. But if they met him in the New Beyond, it wouldn't. Snoke, however, is in the sequels. Kylo Ren, however, is in the sequels, so they need to be built upon. Florida sucks in, again, saying, I think it will be Thrawn at first. So you think it'll be Thrawn first, and then he dies off, and then Snoke? That's kind of where I'm at. It'll be Thrawn for a while, too. He'll have this big army. It'll probably be a whole thing that happens in the New Beyond, this New Beyond. And it will be just a time period of fun and adventure during Star Wars. Let me close this poll. Where do we end off with this poll? End poll. Poll has been ended. So yeah, Thrawn came out on top, obviously, 75%, and then Snoke right behind him with 25. Snoke took a big chunk of that. He did. He took a big chunk of that. Supreme Ren says, my guess is Snoke or Palpatine. So Snoke, like, as a whole, you think it could be Snoke right away. See, they're building up Thrawn in all these, like in the Ahsoka show and all this stuff for a long time. Star Wars 2, what is up, my guy? Okay. They're building up all these people for a long, long time in Star Wars Rebels. They're building up all these people like Thrawn, Ezra being disappeared. They got Ahsoka. They got all these people. Hera Syndulla coming in. Sabine coming in. So all these people are being built up. And they all have a backstory in that 4 seasons of Star Wars Rebels. And it seems as though that's where they're going. They're going with Thrawn having this big army in the Ahsoka show, but it's not just going to end in the Ahsoka show. It's not going to be a start and a finish to Thrawn in live action. They're not going to Cad Bane him where they introduce him to live action and kill him immediately. That's the new saying, is bringing in a bad guy from animated stuff to kill him in the first season. It's called Cad Baning. But yeah, they're not going to Cad Bane Thrawn. Thrawn's going to stay. He's going to stay for a while. And he's going to be this big looming presence with an army and with a dark side user maybe even. And he'll be around for a long, long time. So I just think that he... Actually, I just saw that Star Wars Politics. It popped up on my phone. Yeah, so this is just breaking right now. We're getting a Mandalorian Season 3 trailer on Monday, January 16th, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is next Monday. That is awesome. Star Wars Politics. I literally just saw that on my phone as soon as you said that. That's hilarious. No, so yeah, Mandalorian Season 3 trailer on Monday. Wow, that's going to be awesome because we go live on Tuesday and we're going to get hyped about it. But I'll break it down on Monday too. That's awesome. This Monday. Let's go. So as we were just talking about, there's no hype for The Mandalorian Season 3. They're going to release a trailer. And hopefully all is well in the world and we'll get this awesome trailer for The Mandalorian Season 3. And everybody will be hyped for The Mandalorian Season 3. And we'll just have a fun hype stream on Tuesday talking about The Mandalorian Season 3 trailer and hype things that are going to happen in that show. Hopefully. What if the trailer sucks? What if it's terrible and doesn't get people hyped at all? I don't even want to think about it. Let's not think about it. It's going to be hype. It's just going to be Grogu and Din flying around. Hopefully it's going to... I think we'll see like a bad guy or Moff Gideon or something in the trailer, because the first trailer didn't really show much at all. It alluded to there being a conflict between Bo and Din, but not really. It was just Grogu and Din kind of flying around having some fun. And you saw a first look at a destroyed Mandalore. Why did I say it like that? But you got a first look at a destroyed Mandalore, and you got some fun things in that first trailer. What do we expect? All right, now we can speculate about what's going on in this trailer. What do we think's going to happen in this trailer on Monday? Mandalorian Season 3 trailer Monday. This Monday. Let me see if I can pull this up, actually. Where is it? Here we go. Breaking. Literally right this very second. Breaking news. The new Mandalorian Season 3 trailer gets release date. Fans will get a glimpse of Season 3 of The Mandalorian in its new trailer in just a few days. Disney has confirmed a brand new trailer for The Mandalorian Season 3 will premiere during ESPN NFL Super Bowl or Super Wild Card game starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, January 16th. This trailer will be released at halftime on Monday of the Wild Card game. Hype. So it'll probably be around like 9-ish o'clock when that comes out. We'll break it down. We'll do a lot of fun things, and then we'll talk about it on Tuesday live. That's epic. So actually, this past week, if any of you guys Marvel fans, they did the same thing during the college football game on Monday, where they gave the Ant-Man trailer. During that, I mean, if you're a Marvel fan and you watch that trailer, there's no way you didn't get extremely hyped for Ant-Man Quantumania. That movie's going to be awesome. But hopefully this Mandalorian Season 3 trailer gets us just as hype. Star Wars Politics says, I think they're trying to make... he thinks. Remember, it's him thinking. They're trying to make the villain Bo. I think Bo-Katan he's referring to. I think the villain is actually going to be Moff. So he thinks they're trying to do a trickaroo thing here where they're going to make it seem as though Bo-Katan is the villain in the trailers, and then Moff Gideon is the real villain. He breaks out of prison. He gets this cool new armor that is being rumored that he could be getting a armor that looks like a Mandalorian, a Darth Maul Mandalorian armor, which would be so cool. It's just like an old beat up, like with the spikes on it from the Clone Wars. How cool would that be? If we got Moff Gideon in a Mandalorian outfit fighting versus Din Djarin and Bo-Katan and a bunch of other Mandalorians, with Moff Gideon in the Mandalorian outfit and the Praetorian Guards. Now we're talking about hype for The Mandalorian Season 3. How sick would that be? And then like Thrawn comes in at the end and saves the day or something crazy like that. How cool would that be? And do you think Mando and Ahsoka and even Luke Skywalker have like speed dial? Like, can Din be like, oh God, we're in trouble. Let me call up my good friend, the Jedis. The Luke Sokas. Is anybody a Luke Soka fan? Like, shipping Luke and Ahsoka. But yeah, I think that's where we're going with The Mandalorian Season 3. I think it's going to be Moff Gideon as the bad guy. He's going to have a Mandalorian outfit, which is going to be legendary. Do you guys know what I'm talking about when I say Mandalorian? I got to pull this up because this is so cool. Maul's Mandalorian armor. You got to see this. This is so sick. If you didn't watch the Clone Wars, if you don't know what I'm talking about, first of all, what are you doing with your life? Go watch The Mandalorian. The Clone Wars. But this is what we're talking about here. Hang on. Let me open that up. Oh my god, why is it so tiny? Well, that's a terrible picture. Hang on. Processing. Okay, well, here's the helmet. We'll just look at the helmet. There we go. This is what we're hoping to see. Imagine how cool this would be. Oh my god, I'm getting so hype. I'm getting so hype right now. We're getting hype. Okay, calm down. Okay. If Moff Gideon shows up in that, there's no stopping. If we're doing live watch parties, oh my god, I'll go crazy. So, what to expect from Mandalorian Season 3? Hopefully, like Politics is saying, Moff Gideon's the main bad guy. Bo-Katan, they don't turn into a bad guy. Because I like Bo-Katan as a character, and hopefully she becomes the ruler of Mandalore, and we actually like that as a thing. Because Din doesn't seem to want the throne. Should we start another poll? Let's pull it up. Let's do one more poll for the day. Who will be the leader of the Mandalorians by the end of Mando Season 3? Who will be the ruler of Mandalore by end of Season 3? Bo-Katan, Din Djarin, or Boba Fett. My favorite is Boba Fett, honestly. If we're being real, my favorite is Boba Fett. But it's the most unlikely one. That's the problem. It's the most unlikely one. But, you never know. So, yeah. What do we think? Who do we think will be the ruler of the Mandalorians by the end of The Mandalorian Season 3? What do we think? I'm so excited. I can't wait till Monday now. Should we just go to sleep until Monday? Should we do that? No, I got actually a really cool video coming out while you guys vote on that. I got a really cool video coming out on hopefully tomorrow. Yeah, hopefully tomorrow. It's about Gina Carano and Cara Dune. So obviously, it's been 2 years since The Mandalorian Season 2. But at the end of that season, it's Bo-Katan, it's Fennec Shand, and it's Gina Carano's Cara Dune going in as like this badass group and defeating Moff Gideon's army. So it's like she became a marshal for the New Republic, and you're just gonna take that character and just get rid of her. So my video's pretty much how are they going to explain Cara Dune not being in the show? How are they going to explain Cara Dune's disappearance? How are they going to explain Cara Dune? Are they going to kill her off screen? Are they going to do something else? How are they going to explain it? Or could we see possibly Gina Carano come back? I know a lot of fans have mixed feelings about Gina Carano and the whole thing and blah 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 blah. But we'll see. We will see. Yeah, so let's see where we're at with this poll right now. What's going on here? So right now it's with 3 votes in, it's Bo-Katan 2, Boba Fett 1. So nobody seems to think that Din Djarin is getting the throne. And I agree. He doesn't seem to want it. It doesn't seem like that will be what happens. Brandon, what's up, Brandon? I haven't seen you in a while. I think she will return to die. Oh, that would stink. You think they're going to bring her back just to kill her off? That would suck. No, that would be bad. We don't want that. Brandon, no. Brandon. Think they'll just actually hire her again just to kill her off? They already fired her. So they're going to say, hey, come back so we can just kill your character off. Imagine how mad that would make fans. Brandon, would you actually like that? What? You think bringing her back just to kill her off is the solution? No. Cara Dune. So first of all, Gina Carano is supposedly, according to Giancarlo Esposito, according to Pedro Pascal, according to Bill Burr, all people who worked with her, is a very nice lady. I've never had a chance to converse with her or talk to her, even meet her. But from what I hear, she's very nice. And of course, you never want to go crazy on Twitter. It's a bad look as an actor in general. But she got fired. And now what do they do with her character? It could possibly be a reason as to why The Mandalorian Season 3 has taken so long. Just having to come up with a reason as for her not being in it is a big deal. Brandon follows up and says, if she went out in a blaze, it would be cool, a hero's death. True, but again, they already fired her. So hiring her back and saying, look, we're just going to kill you off is probably not going to go down well. Look, before she was fired, there was supposed to be a TV show around her in Bo-Katan called The Rangers of the New Republic. And that completely got canned. They don't even talk about it anymore. They didn't even mention it. Like, it was a thing. It was a full-on thing of Gina Carano as Cara Dune and Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan being Rangers of the New Republic. And we haven't really got much about the New Republic. I mean, we've seen Dave Filoni's character, I think Wolf, and another character, a New Republic X-Wing pilot. But the New Republic is supposed to be this new government that's around, and we don't really have much about them. And that show was supposed to bring us into the New Republic and maybe even go to Coruscant, maybe even see Leia and Han and all that stuff. But we don't get it anymore just because they fired Gina Carano. So that video is going to come out tomorrow. It's going to be, I think, a great video and hopefully get us even more excited for this trailer on Monday. Trailer for Mandalorian Season 3 Monday, Brandon, if you weren't here for that. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be very exciting. And I can't wait for it. Yeah. Oh, Moff Gideon in Mandalorian armor would be so cool. I just can't wait. I can't wait. All right, so there's actually one more thing I wanted to talk about because we kind of just briefly talked about this on Tuesday, but we didn't really get into it all too much. But the Skeleton Crew. So from what we hear, the Skeleton Crew is having a lot of problems. We'll put it that way. Brandon, before we get into this, Brandon said, so would Mando's Moff be a flashback? What? No, we're talking about Moff Gideon escaping from prison and then getting a Mandalorian armor. That's what we're talking about. Brandon, you lost me. Sorry. But Skeleton Crew. We're talking about Skeleton Crew and how the rumor is that the production has been going poorly, very, very poorly. Actors have been leaving set very, very angry, all that crazy stuff. So the production is going pretty shakily, but they're filming right now. And it seems as though they'll be done filming in March, if we read this right. Star Wars Skeleton Crew gets Disney Plus release date update. So we don't know when this show is coming out yet. There's no confirmed release date, but this is what we seem to know. Star Wars television shows no signs of slowing down. And now an update has speculated when the Skeleton Crew will be streaming on Disney Plus. So this is actually cool. I don't know if many of you know this, but, and I've said it a million times, but maybe you still don't know, Spider-Man No Way Home, the director John Watts is the director of this project. He first revealed this project at Star Wars Celebration in May of 2022. Star Wars Celebration is this April, by the way. In the same announcement, Hollywood heavyweight Jude Law was confirmed to lead the series, and the series was slated for a 2023 premiere. That is this year, but we don't know when. However, fans have heard very little about the project since, and what updates exists have painted a bleaker outlook. Yes, because we know that people are not very happy. Some anonymous crew reports have revealed that the show was worse than all the other Star Wars productions combined, with many frustrated crew members leaving due to rough production process. I don't know how this happens. I don't know how the production could be so bad that it ends up with crew members leaving the set, actually leaving the production, literally just quitting their job because the production on this show is so bad. I don't know how that's possible. But despite this, many are still confident that the show will release in 2023, but still new reports that have given Star Wars fans a better idea of when they will be able to watch it. So delays ahead of Watts' Star Wars debut. New reports by well-known Star Wars leaker Bespin Bulletin, great source if you guys are looking for any sources and stuff, them making Star Wars, all that stuff, has shared doubt about whether Skeleton Crew will meet its original release date. The site recalled previous reports that the Skeleton Crew was due to commence filming in June of 2022 and wrap by late 2022. This is not how it went. However, according to the reports, film began later than planned, and there have been rumblings about the show's filming time frame being extended. Some sources have claimed the initial plan was changed, and Watts' series now aims to wrap in March of 2023. So this was supposed to end in like November of 2022, but now it's March of 2023. So this is a big delay. Huge. The leaker points out the tight turnaround to other Lucasfilm endeavors. The Book of Boba Fett had the shortest production time to date, with filming wrapping around June of 2021 and premiered in the same year. So you think about that. The Book of Boba Fett came out at the very end of December. So you ended in June. So July, August, September, October, November, December. Literally 6 months later, it came out. So that post-production was really fast. So if this show ends in March, we could technically get it by the end of the year, but that's if it goes as fast as the Book of Boba Fett. However, insiders, Similarly, The Mandalorian began filming its first season in February of 2019 and the show began to stream on November of that same year. So the same kind of time frame. However, insiders at the Bespin Bulletin note that these are not the same. This is all different. This is because of production issues and filming delays. This is not because of all this other stuff going on. Due to this production uncertainty, the reports point out that the Skeleton Crew is most likely to release in late 2023 or early 2024. So this is not really good news. However, it is news all the same. We think, as we speculate as Star Wars fans, we think The Mandalorian comes out March 1st, of course. And after that, it'll run till end of April, early May. And then after that, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know when the Ahsoka show is supposed to be released, and probably a lot of that is dependent on when the Skeleton Crew releases. So, Ahsoka show, why would they put it in June if we're going to have like 5 months off until the Skeleton Crew? They would push the Ahsoka show back to give us consistent Star Wars content all through the year. So I think the Ahsoka show actually heavily depends upon when the Skeleton Crew is released, which is kind of, they go hand in hand. Now, also filming right now is the Acolyte show. The Acolyte show is supposed to come out in 2024. However, what if the production is so bad on Skeleton Crew that Skeleton Crew gets pushed behind Acolyte, and Acolyte actually comes out first, and you could see the Acolyte by the end of this year, maybe even. That's a possibility. It's always a possibility. You never know how bad the production really is until we actually see the show itself. That's the thing. We don't really know until we know, and we don't know. So all we know right now is the production is bad on the Skeleton Crew, and we just have to wait. We have to wait and see. But until then, we got a lot of other fun, cool things to do with Star Wars. So any last minute things? Brandon, what was your ranking on in Star Wars Stew and Florida Sucks? What was your ranking on The Bad Batch episode 3? What did you rank it out of 10? Obviously, Bad Batch still has 13 more episodes. We're going to be breaking them all down. Of course, yesterday I was way too busy to do a breakdown video, so this is our breakdown. But from now on, we're doing live streams every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. It's so fun to have you guys in the chat. I mean, I still remember it was not that long ago. We were having 30-minute live streams because nobody was in the chat. I was talking to myself, and I could only talk to myself for so long. But you guys coming in is a huge help, and I can't express how thankful I am for you guys being here. So The Bad Batch Season 2, still 13 more episodes. The Mandalorian Season 3 coming right around the corner. Trailer for it on Monday. Look out for that. I'll be breaking it down on Monday night, and we'll go live on Tuesday to talk all about it. Very hyped for The Mandalorian Season 3. And literally, from the moment Star Wars Politics says, I feel like the hype for The Mandalorian Season 3 isn't there. Since that moment, I've been very hyped for it since we found out that there's a trailer coming on Monday. So yeah, all it takes is a few trailers, a few commercials to get people excited. You just got to advertise the show. That's all you got to do. I think that's the same case with The Bad Batch. They're just not doing that. So I'm going to get on out of here in a second. But any last things, any last news, any last fun things we want to talk about? Anything. Anybody. Star Wars Politics says, which Lucasfilm is not good at. Yes, advertisement is not their strong suit, sadly. I mean, look at The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is their biggest show by far, and it could be even bigger if they advertised it better. The best thing they ever advertised, and you watch like Star Wars Theory and all that other things, all those other guys, he always says the best thing they ever advertised was The Last Jedi. They spent millions of dollars advertising The Last Jedi, and it made so much money, but we know what happened with The Last Jedi. Completely split the fan base. People either loved it, people either hated it, blah, 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 blah. But it was they advertised The Last Jedi the most and the strongest, and it was a lot of fun. Wow, Supreme Ren, that is probably one of the greatest compliments I've ever received on this channel. He said, "You're better than Star Wars Theory." That is very nice. Thank you. I'd love to connect with Star Wars Theory. He follows me on Instagram, actually. At a guy who loves Star Wars, because I just post memes on there, and he's posted some of my memes. He's a very nice guy. I watch him a lot, but my goal is to be as big as him, and we're getting there, slowly but surely. You don't like him? Why not? Brandon gave The Bad Batch season episode 3 a 9.5 out of 10. It was amazing. I agree with you. I was at a 9 out of 10, actually. I was, because I think it could still get better. That's where I'm at. Supreme Ren also said, enjoyed the stream, man. Thanks. He said he used to like him, but doesn't like him anymore. Oh, something happened there. No. Okay. We're going to get on out of here. Thank you guys again. Star Wars Politics. Josh with the Den of Nerds has good takes too. Oh, I watch Josh like every day. His streams are so hype. He's a guy I definitely want to connect with for sure. He's where I get all my Marvel news, all my DC news. He's my Marvel guy. He's my Marvel guy. Supreme Ren says, I find him a hypocrite as well as a jerk. Okay, geez. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Okay. I don't know him that much to have that strong of an opinion about him, but yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm going to get on out of here. Thanks again. You guys are the best. Going live twice a week, and I didn't think anybody would show up, but now we got so many people showing up, and it was very exciting. I think at our peak we hit 7 people at a time. It was very, very, very cool. Supreme Ren in for the last time today, saying he timed me out. Oh, wow. On the live stream because I was voicing my opinion about the sequel trilogy. Oh, my God. Yeah, Supreme Ren, I know you love the sequels. Hey, no hate here. People love the sequels. People hate the sequels. I see you all the same. Star Wars fans. People are Star Wars fans because they love Star Wars. Whatever brought you into the love of Star Wars, whatever keeps you in the love of Star Wars is your thing. There's no hate. People who hate the sequel trilogies can show up to the stream. People who love the sequel trilogies can show up to the stream, show up to the channel. It's Star Wars. It's all Star Wars. And how you view it as your own headcanon, as your own canon, is all up to you. And don't let anybody affect that. Don't let me affect that. Don't let Star Wars Theory affect that. Don't let anybody else online affect how you view Star Wars, how you enjoy Star Wars, how you love Star Wars. It's all your own thing. Don't let anybody else affect it. Supreme Ren said, I don't care if people don't like them as long as they don't attack me. I completely agree. If you like the sequel trilogy, why do I care? Like, if I absolutely hated it, which I don't, but if I absolutely like hated it with a passion, why should I care if you like it? It has no effect on me. Exactly right. That's all Star Wars. It is. It's all Star Wars. Legends. The EU, which is again Legends. The Old Republic, the High Republic, the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy, the Mandalorian timeline, the Clone Wars, Rebels. Some people love all that stuff, but some people hate all that stuff. It's all just an opinion, and you can have your own. That's what seems to be wrong in the Star Wars community right now, and that's why I'm hoping that these streams can get up to tens, if not 20s, if not hundreds of people, and that would be a lot of fun. And I'm hoping to get a community here that really likes. It's literally a fictional universe, exactly Star Wars politics. People just, but it is more than that. It is more than that. People have very strong connection to it. We can all have different opinions about it, exactly. And you have to respect people's opinions, but except for mine, because my opinions are fact. We know that. We know that here. My opinions are clearly just fact, and that goes without saying. Of course. But yeah, you gotta respect everybody's opinion about Star Wars, and my opinion is fact. So if I had to leave you on anything, that is what I would leave you on. So I'm gonna get on out of here. Smash like, of course. If you haven't smashed like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hit that subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video, and my pretty face will show up in the recommended feed of yours. All right, I'm going to get on out of here. You guys are the best. Love you guys. See you guys on next Tuesday, but of course a video tomorrow. Of course, probably videos over the weekend, and of course the Mandalorian Season 3 trailer during the wild card game on Monday, January 16th at halftime. We'll be breaking it down. Good night, everybody, and may the force be with you always.